Friends, I'm Linda Prio with Aging in Place Strategies and Answers podcast. And this is my friend, Polly Lemire.
And yes, I'm Polly. I remember that. And my website is called Thrive After 65. And I specialize in showing seniors how little things can make a big difference in their lives.
Yes, she helps people to thrive at every stage of life, and I trust her to not steer us wrong. So, listeners, if you were on our YouTube Seniors Can We Talk last month, you heard Polly and I give you a little tip that this month we're going to be talking about how to be present with yourself and how to be present with others. And that is not a social media thing. That is just good old fashioned, how we used to do it, the good old days. And Polly shared with me that the good old days are coming back because all this digital laptop, tablet, constantly scrolling, is causing a lot of stress and anxiety. And it's just not filling people's spirits. So we decided that we would talk about analog bags. So we're really excited so that you can even maybe put
We,
this on your shopping list, an analog
yeah, we
bag.
probably should explain
Yes.
we're just the word analog. So when it's so easy now to just depend on digital stuff for everything. I mean, it just becomes habit. And when we talk about analog, we're talking about activities that do not involve a screen.
Yes.
And it really came up for me because I was having a meeting with BJ Fogg, who's the founder of the Behavior Design Lab at Stanford. And one of the things he was saying was that he was on an airplane headed home after being at a conference where he was giving the keynote speech and was really missing the fact that he wanted to have a pen and he wished he had some note cards with him to write a real thank you note because the person who was in charge of it really did an outstanding job. And he thought, if I wrote a handmade note, it would be so much better than just another text.
Yes.
And that's sort of the starting point of what Linda and I are talking about, how to be more present in your life with yourself and with other people instead of just depending on all of these screen activities.
Yes.
How to get away from it a little bit.
Yeah, and responding to texts and all kinds of things. Polly, I had a friend who told me that she is now not going to invite this one particular friend out to lunch. And I said, well, why are you not going to do that? And she said, well, that's because when we go out to lunch, I really want to make a connection with her. And she usually is on her phone. So she said, I'm sorry to say it, but I'm probably not going to invite her out to lunch because it's just not what I'm looking for. I really want somebody who's present with me. And when she picks up her phone, I feel like I've been hung up on or that I'm boring. And whatever's on her phone is a lot more exciting. And I thought, wow, that really got me thinking about my behaviors and making sure that I'm trying to be present with people when I'm across from them and sharing experiences. I know sometimes I do check the time, but I actually have a watch for that and could do that on my watch instead. Now, I think you met somebody fairly recently that had a great idea about the use of her time at
Yes, yes.
night.
It was a woman who attended one of my classes that I was teaching at Oasis. And this woman, she was such a sparkly, bright woman, and she was in her 90s, still drives her car, still goes out, takes classes, still very, very active. And one of her rules for herself that I had not heard before, but this was her rule, she does not turn on the television until 8 o'clock at night. So it's strictly for educational or for entertainment purposes to watch things she really wants to watch rather than zoning out with a screen in front of you. And I have to confess, I I think it's a sign of boredom, and it's dangerous for us seniors because it really can lead to depression. And what I found myself doing, and usually I'm doing it when my energy is low, is
Right.
I'll go on Netflix or Amazon, and I am scrolling through the names of the movies. I'm not even putting a movie on. And there's nothing that interests me. That is a sign. That is a sign that something's going on, and we need to stop everything and say, wait a minute, I'm really feeling bored, or I'm
Yes.
really feeling off tonight. What could I do that would really bring me joy instead of just scrolling?
Yes, but
To me,
that's the
it's sort of like a
easy.
kind of restlessness, like
Yeah.
we, and we're so used to being entertained by something else instead of looking to ourselves and taking responsibility to ourselves to be entertained or to find things that we really enjoy doing.
Yes,
And I think
and
too often, even parents now of little babies will sit their baby in front of the TV just to occupy the baby.
uh guilty. Sometimes I'm like, okay, is it time for a show? Because otherwise it's a lot of one-on-one and a lot of entertainment and
Oh yes.
sometimes
Well, I used to lie and wait for Sesame Street
yeah.
and Mr. Rogers to come on. In fact, my best friend would come over every afternoon. We all had little children, and we would lie and wait for Mr. Rogers and for Sesame Street because finally the moms had a chance to talk,
Yes, had that moment.
and
I
the
agree.
kids would all be enraptured.
Yeah, I there's still people I know that decided that they were not going to put their TV on during the day because they felt like it was a slippery slope. So yeah, he's an older guy like us, but I think
Hmm.
even a back in the day thing,
Hmm.
when we didn't have 150,000 channels, is that you chose what you were going to watch and when you were going to watch it. And other than that, you might not have had the TV on all day. But I had to ask myself, when was the last time I just put my phone down and didn't really look at it? How am I spending my time? Because I agree with you, Polly. Sometimes I'm tired of making all those decisions, or I'm tired from my day. And now the easiest go to is really for me to just pick up my phone and you scroll through movie titles where sometimes I'm watching something and scrolling, reading, catching up on
Oh,
my
I've
email.
done that, which really. So my dad was a Episcopalian minister, and he used to say, "You can't preach about sin unless you've experienced some."
There you go. So that's what
So
your
we're talking
sisters.
about our own experiences. They're pretty universal.
Yes, yes. So I don't think we're that unique. And so we're falling into these same habits, and it's not really satisfying. And I think uh, uh, it is something that we're hearing more and more, especially amongst young people. I remember several months ago, my nephew said, "Hey, did you know it's a really new thing to take a walk without your headphones on?" And I said, "Well, I'm really old," but I said, I mean, that's not a habit I have. I don't want to hear anything, so I don't walk with anything on like headphones. But apparently, the young people are finding that that is like one of their first steps that they're utilizing to try to disengage from technology a little bit. And having these real world connections, and then choosing hands-on activities. So the analog bag goes hand in hand with the hands-on, intentional activities, so that we are getting real experiences. We're getting in touch with ourselves, our own creativity, instead of watching somebody else's creativity on Pinterest or a movie channel or maybe a home decorating channel. That we get this sense of accomplishment when we do these
Mhm.
hands on activities. And so that is what is actually going to help us to be able to disconnect from the screen time. But like
Right.
Polly and I just said, that's the easiest go to, is
Yes.
just to
And and
do.
and, we probably should pause a minute and say, what is an analog bag? A bag. I saw this on TikTok.
Uh-huh.
All of a sudden, all these 30-year-olds are displaying their analog bags. And
Yeah.
an analog bag is like, it could be a Trader Joe's canvas bag or LL Bean bag. And in
Yes.
it, and of course, now they have fancier ones that people, but anyway, in it you put your maybe a favorite book that you read, all different kind. And Linda has a list of them that she'll share in a second. But it's where you put things that are not screen devices that you can actually spend some time with and have some fun with.
Yeah,
Linda,
absolutely.
you want to share more about this, I'm sure. And pardon me for interrupting you, but I just thought we should explain exactly what an
Yeah.
analog bag is.
Analog bag is something that you're going to make and you get to make all the decisions about it. And I know myself, and you probably know yourself too, that you probably have some bougie bag or some fun bag that somebody gave you and you're wondering about, oh, that could be the one I actually put my things
And you keep
into.
it by the chair where you usually watch television. That might be a place to keep it.
Yes, absolutely. So it's a physical bag. But I told
Mhm.
Polly we could make an analog jar. And and we'll share more about that. But Polly loves to knit. And
Mhm.
so she would probably have her knitting in there, right?
Oh, yes, I'll show you. See, I love to make socks.
Yes,
So
look at
here's one
those.
pair of socks. Here's another one.
Aren't they beautiful?
Here's another one. And that's one of the things that I always keep by the television. Yeah, doing something that's analog, that's with your hands, is so important because it's really good for your brain. You know, our
Yes.
brains absolutely love problem solving.
Hmm.
Playing a card game is problem solving.
Yes.
Doing a puzzle is problem solving. Looking at knitting and watching the stitches that you're doing. All of those are intensely involving your brain. And that's what makes a brain happy. And when we are just sitting back watching a screen and so bored with it that we're actually scrolling on our phones, it's not, how do I say, to me, it's a danger that number one, we're bored, but if not only that we're bored, but if you keep this kind of activity up all the time, it really can lead to depression.
Yes, yes, and that's what they're really finding. And so this is our opportunity today to show
Yeah,
how we're trying to solve this in our own life. We're not perfect
right.
by any stretch of the imagination, but sometimes I like to cook. And so sometimes making cookies or putting my, you
It's
know,
Christmas time.
yeah, it's Christmas time. If you have a cookie recipe, that could be, in your analog bag. Oh my gosh, I forgot I wanted to make snickerdoodles or I wanted to make chocolate chip cookies or fudge crinkle cookies. And so you can put that recipe in your analog bag and oh my gosh, I forgot I put this in here. Or as BJ Fogg said, maybe having those note cards in that
The
analog
note
bag
cards to write a thank you note. That's
and then you
right.
can pull that
Absolutely.
out. Now,
Mhm.
Polly also loves to watercolor, and she is on task. She told me, she goes, I am ready to start my Christmas cards,
Oh,
Linda. So,
yeah. So that's what I'm doing. And you can see right behind me, that's my art studio behind me. But
yes.
there's like Christmas card. Here's a Christmas card. These are from the past years that I've done. And this is this year's Thanksgiving card.
Beautiful.
But that completely, when I get involved doing that, time just flies by.
Oh,
All of a sudden, I
yes.
look up and it's 10 o'clock at night because
Yes.
I'm really involved. Whereas sometimes it's one thing to watch a TV program because you really want to watch it. Like there's the new program on PBS about the American Revolution or
Yes.
something like that, that it's really a special event. Or I think The Wizard of Oz was on last
Hmm.
night.
Hmm.
Um, Watching something that's very specific, that's very different from just sitting back, sort of bored, and you're too tired to make any decisions and you're just sort of scrolling.
Yes, yes. Now, some people really love woodworking projects. We just got back from a little trip to Metropolis, Illinois, very small town, but you might
Oh,
recognize it
yes.
because that's where Superman is from. And so they had barns set up in the
Mhm.
countryside, so different barns. And this one lady, her husband was a woodworker. He is still a woodworker. He makes furniture. And she said, what are you doing with all those scraps? And he said, tossing them in the fire. And she said, oh no. So she gathered up all the scraps and she's actually making these beautiful wooden boards with these scraps from the furniture that he's making. So woodworking or repairs that are enjoyable to you, not something that's going to stress you out, but something that is a problem solving that you need to put your
Mhm,
hands in there
mhm.
and get going on. In that same little barn, there was a lady in the back, and she was a baker, and she made sourdough bread. And so we were having a discussion about her sourdough bread and her putting her hands in the dough and how many loaves she had made for that event. So, everybody loves to do something different. I am a reader, so I do love to just read, and I don't mind the quiet, so I'm fine with turning off TV or music because then I'm just thinking, I'm just focused on my book without having to process other information that's coming
Right.
through my brain.
Yeah.
So that
Hmm.
helps me to relax. And like Polly and I talked about last month, is journaling is another thing that I tend to do. But to get out of this evening habit, especially in these long winter nights, usually in the summer, I'm a lot better about occupying my time, but the winter gets long. So,
I think you said something very important. We recognize how that it is important not to just zone out in front of the television. The reason we do it is because it is a habit.
mhm,
It's easier to just flip into a nice comfy chair and turn that thing on. So in order to change that, really what we really need to do is create a new habit.
yes, yes,
And it doesn't mean that necessarily you have to all of a sudden jump into spending an hour every night in some brand new thing. But
right.
if you just make it a teeny tiny, teeny habit, it could be after for me, this is what I started doing. After I finish the dishes, instead of walking straight into the living room, I walk back into my workroom
Okay.
just to check it out. Now, I could turn around and still walk back in the other direction, but the chances are I might see something that well, I do have my Thanksgiving cards. I just got the stamps today. Maybe I can address those envelopes tonight, and then I'll watch television. So it
Yes.
could be, it starts with a little tiny, we have to create a break. And usually
Hmm.
it's after dinner.
Yes.
After dinner, find something to break that pattern of instantly going to the TV.
Yes.
That
Yes.
would be a starting place.
I agree. My husband and I play cards after dinner. I might pop up and do some of the dishes, but then I'll come back and sit down. And so,
Mhm.
I said, I think we need to play a game where there's math involved because I don't do a lot of math during my day. And so I said, let me keep score so I can add up the points. And so then we'll decide if we're going to play one game or we're going to play a couple games. Now we changed over to a dice
Yeah.
game. And so while some people will create an analog bag, I was
Mhm.
thinking of an analog jar that could be full of evening
Oh, that's a good,
time
with different, and you pull,
activities.
you pull out each person gets a chance to pull out the different activities. You just make a little, that's a great idea.
Yeah, just
Yeah, the
some.
main thing is just to create some kind of a break or a new pattern after dinner so that you don't go straight into the den or the living room to turn on the television. That's a starting place.
Yes, I even thought, just like you did, Pally, to just go back to a different room. But I was even thinking, like, not even, totally avoiding the TV room, and
Hmm.
then going
Hmm.
into, like, we have a basement, so we could go down in our basement. And then my husband loves to work on puzzles, and I can sit and read. And then we're both very happy at the end of
Yeah.
the night. And then I will say that many times at 8 or maybe before that we have a program that we watch and we enjoy it and then we're
Hmm.
ready for a good night's sleep. But you mentioned habit and preparation also goes in that piece. So once
Hmm.
you have decided what bag you're going to use to put these new items in, whatever floats your boat. I was on Amazon, True Confessions, because I have a friend who's an artist. And she, like you, loves to watercolor. And when she's with her grandchildren, she has bought some nice watercolor books that will teach them. They'll have like a bird. And then they,
Hmm.
on the next page, there'll be tips on how to paint it. And then they get the opportunity to practice their skills. And I thought that's great because I have little people that come to visit my house, and why not have something that's readily available when they're running through the house and things start flying to say, hey, I've got some watercolors and some paints, and let's do some Christmas
Mhm.
activities or
And there are uh, people have in their analog bags, they have little miniature watercolor paint boxes
yes.
and miniature sketch pads. You could also get the oh, what do you call them? Markers.
Hmm.
There's all kinds of books where you can just use markers to create pictures, which is
Yeah.
supposed to be a really good soothing thing for the brain.
Yeah.
Just, filling in, how I say, even paint by numbers. There's paint by number kits.
Yeah.
I mean, and if you
Adult.
haven't had a new hobby in a while, just go to someplace like Michael's and get inspired.
Yes. In fact, we were talking about this subject, and this morning on TV, I saw that Michael's has this huge, huge crochet knit area now. So you tell me that we're not on the right track with this and that people are,
Yeah,
in fact,
analog's coming back, baby. It's
coming back. In
it's
fact, you
it's the
told
new
me
thing.
that needlepoint, which I used to do years ago. So needlepoint, embroidery, what kind of it's for you. It
Mhm.
doesn't
And then
matter.
there's no harm. You can even put like a bag of M&Ms in there, or your
Oh,
favorite mints, your favorite hand lotion before you knit, so that the wool doesn't get, stuck on your nails or anything like that. I mean, the whole idea is to make it into a delicious a goodie bag.
something you're excited about and
Yes, and
anxious
that you
to
look
get
forward
to.
to doing.
Yeah. So preparation is key.
Mhm.
And then of course your tiny habits. So what are some of your tiny habits? Like
All
you
right,
said,
so the first tiny habit would be for me that I would suggest would be number one, after dinner, I will. And then you just decide where are you going to go that's different from the TV room. So that's
yeah,
one. Another one would be after breakfast, I'll turn off the TV. Sometimes, we can just leave it
yeah,
on. And I know when I lived by myself in California, I would sometimes leave it on just so that it filled the air.
yes.
And sometimes I leave it on when I'm gone so that my kitty won't feel won't
She
feel
won't
too
be
lonely.
lonely. Yeah.
So, be judicious
And what you do.
about turning it on in the first place or turning it off. It's just easy if it's so easy if you have it on at breakfast to just leave it on. uh, it all depends on how you're using the TV. If you just need it for background noise so that you don't feel lonely, I totally get that, as long as you're not plastered in front of the TV itself.
Hmm.
Another one would be when I find myself scrolling on a screen, I will take a deep breath and ask myself, is this bringing me joy? And it gives you an opportunity, just that little tiny habit. And you may say, yes, I'm having a good time doing this, and fine, just keep on doing it. But
Right.
sometimes if you just ask that question, it just brings you into being really conscious of what you're doing. And do you really want to? We have limited time to be here.
I know.
It's a gift. Do we really want to waste the gift of life scrolling constantly on the phone? So
Yes.
that's one thing, is just to take a deep breath and just ask, is this really the way I want to spend my life?
And like you said, is how does this habit make me feel?
Exactly.
If you feel more alone, if you feel um like you said, if you don't have joy or if it's stressing you out, or look at what all these other people are doing and I'm not doing it, or I'm not feeling well today and now this is making me feel double, even worse, you know, it's that's a good clue
That's a
that it's
sign
time to create a new habit so that
you
you
have it
can get out of that rut.
of the screens.
Yes.
And then there's one or two other ones. One is after dinner, I'll spend 25 minutes on a project. Only 25 minutes. That's all you have to do. And if you still then want to go watch TV, that's fine. And the reason I'm saying 25 minutes is because it's like the difference between 9.99 and $10. 25 minutes sounds like a lot less than half an hour. So that's another one. And then another one to consider that some families do, and I think it's a good one, is to have a basket for phones.
Yes.
And maybe before dinner, everybody puts their phone in the basket. Or when you get home from work, you put the phone in the basket. Or, if after dinner you put your phone in the basket so that you're not just tempted to pick it up and be scrolling.
Yes, I usually take my work phone and put it on my charger, and then I try
Yeah,
not to look at it the rest of the night.
yeah, yeah.
So that's kind of my little habit that I created there. Yeah, and so because you got us started on this topic, there's different kinds of analog bags you can create. If you really want to get creative, you could create an analog bag for your grandchildren that you come to visit, or if you're traveling, maybe you can put a few things in for yourself for the plane. Like BJ Fogg, he wanted to have those note cards. I mean, there's going to be a
Mhm,
lot of
mhm.
time to spend doing nothing. And you can, in my brain, I can only scroll so long. I'll have to get up and walk or move around or do something else. But
The reason that I do socks is because there's so many places in life where one's sitting around at a doctor's office or at the airport, and socks are small and they don't take up much space.
so you might have a mindful morning bag. Some
Yeah,
people have a morning bag, some people have an evening bag, and some people have a nature bag. This is really about you and what you want to do. And I think I was telling Polly, I said my takeaway from this is that a lot of times I'm enjoying other people's creativity, but I also know that I've been given creativity. And so when I'm just looking at other people's creativity, I'm kind of pushing mine down and not utilizing it. And it's that creative process, or my brain gets to escape into something other than the day to day and other
right.
than what I just experienced all day. So, there are so many changes that happen in your brain cognitively when you're doing this. Your sleep is better because technically you shouldn't really be utilizing any digital items at least 30 minutes before bed, because
Right.
that
The blue
interferes
light.
with your sleep. And so
Right.
putting it away and making a new discipline or a new habit
Mhm.
is really going to benefit you. But being
It's going to
prepared,
benefit your mental health.
yeah, being prepared is really what it's noticing it, being prepared, and then a new habit.
In fact, I would say, why not treat yourself? It's getting to be the holiday season. Treat yourself to going to a store like Michael's or even to the drugstore and filling up your bag with all kinds of little like stocking stuff or little things that are fun and entertaining and self-care giving, and really make a project of it and make it your a special thing just for you.
Yeah.
It's your own special stocking.
Yes, and as you're thinking about Christmas, maybe there's an analog bag, a hands-on bag you can create for your grandchildren, which really wouldn't cost very much money. Or maybe
Yeah.
there's a special person in your life
Mhm.
who could get back into some tactile hands on projects. I told my husband, I said, I'm going to share your grandmother's story with our listeners today. And she, was from Denmark, and she had learned as a young girl how to knit and how to crochet. And she was
Wow.
experiencing a lot of arthritis in her hands. So her daughter got her some knitting yarn, and she got her needles out again, and she blessed us with the most beautiful hand knitted pillows or
Mm-hmm.
an
Mm-hmm.
Afghan, and it's something we all still have. It was done
Right.
so perfectly,
It's
but
a real treasure.
so it helped her. She lived on her own with the support of family, doing,
Mm-hmm.
heavier tasks and
Mm-hmm.
everything. But she cooked
Mm-hmm.
for herself, she cleaned, and she didn't have as much arthritis, but the brain function was always there. She was sharp. And
Mm-hmm.
so
Mm-hmm.
we don't want to lose what we have. We want to make it stronger and better. So we hope you enjoyed listening to our chat about how to disengage from technology and how to be present not only with yourself but with others. Polly, did you want to say something? Felt like
Uh,
you another.
no, I just wanted to just chime in with you. I totally agree. I hope that everybody enjoys just getting some ideas about putting some fun in your life. It's just more fun to actually fix something and make something and stand back and be proud of it than to just be listlessly scrolling and watching the rest of
Yes.
the world go by.
Yeah, and it's accomplishment too, and there's nothing wrong with
It's
accomplishment because
pride.
that gets that wagon moving in a new
Mhm,
direction, and then now all of a
mhm.
sudden look at what we did. Like Polly just showed me 4 cards, and I'm extremely jealous and very impressed. She's got some of her cards already started, and I have not started that yet. But we're going to be back in December and we're going to be back really quick. So check back soon. And we're going to be talking about making a plan for the holidays so that it looks like what you want to do.
Yes, so it's lives up to your expectations and you don't get disappointed.
There you go. Said from somebody who's been there and done that. Okay. All right. Join us again. This is Linda Prio from Aging in Place Strategies and Answers podcast. And
And this is Polly, just reminding you analog is back. All the
baby,
things that we learned to do when we were young are now coming back as the new fashion. So get yourself out there, look for some analog projects. And my website is no, thriveafter65.com.
yes,
And I
it
also
is.
teach classes here in St. Louis under the same name, Thrive After 65.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. We enjoyed being with you. Are you interested in learning more about tiny habits? Look for Polly Lemire at thrive-after65.com. You can learn more about aging in place, strategies, and answers by looking for my podcast wherever you listen to your favorite podcast.